Hello and welcome to another video from the only channel you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. And today's video is going to be about numbers because I just got finished making a video, another wake-up call video, where I throw some numbers out there that I cannot prove in any way. I can't send you to a web page, a network, or a government site. There just ain't no way for me to tell you that what I'm saying is accurate in the next video. However, using just basic reasoning skills, I think the figures I'm giving you are way more accurate than anything you're going to find on a web page or in the networks or from the government. So I'm not telling you what you got to believe. I'm just giving you some options based on reality to compare to what's given to you by the government that is never based on reality. And I guess just an example of how you can play numbers and what the danger is to use actual numbers is, if you're an oligarch and you throw out a phrase like a long time ago in a distant land, you're going to look like you're telling a fairy story. But if you say 42 million years ago in what is now known as Texas, the first living thing came out of the primordial soup. Well, that seems more realistic because you're actually given dates and places. What happens if the next scientist comes along and tells you a different date in a different place? So everybody has to be on the same page. And believe it or not, everybody is. But why is that? It's because years and years ago when they came out with radiometric dating, people were not on the same page. Paleontologist over here would find a bone and say it was 100 billion years old, and a paleontologist over here would find the same exact bone off the same exact species of animal and say it was 50 years old. And so there was a lot of confusion, and evolutionists looked pretty stupid. Back then, it wasn't the powerful religion that it is today. So I'm not going to tell you there's a conspiracy and that all evolutionists got into a room and said, look, from now on when we find a bone like that, let's tell people it's 12 million years old. That's not what happens. What happens is somebody that's highly respected in the evolutionist faith, who is a paleontologist, finds a bone and he dates it. From then on, everybody that finds one of them bones needs to stick to the program. If you're a million years out from what that guy said his bone is, you're going to have your grant pulled, you're going to get fired from your job, you'll never work again. So it's not so much that they all come together and just agree to lie, it's just that they know what's going to happen if they tell some kind of a truth that don't fit in with everybody else's truth, so they don't do that. And that's just the faith of the empire. That's not even the political system or the economic system. Those have their own faults. Let's talk about, well, here's something that I've got personal experience with. Every now and then, the networks will do some kind of show where they talk about how many millions of dollars are spent to help our returning veterans. What they don't tell you is almost all of that money is spent on lawyers whose sole job on this planet is to keep veterans from getting their benefits. There's probably 2 lawyers for every doctor working down at the VA. And in fact, if you go down there, well, the VA I used to go to, it's like a complex of about 30 buildings, and only one building has anything to do with medicine. Something to think about. Now, in my video that's coming up, I talk about fuel subsidies. We're led to believe that our economy is driven by supply and demand. This has never once been true. It's a fallacy. It's just designed to give you some kind of hope of one day aspiring to something better than you are. Reality is, this is a society that is driven by production cost. Period. You know, the guy that runs things knows how much he wants to get paid. So if he can make a roll of tape for $1, and he wants 25 cents for every roll, that's what you're going to pay for a roll of tape. If everybody in the world all of a sudden needs a roll of tape, you think the cost of tape is going to go up? Yeah, there's a million tape factories. And basically, that's the way everything works. Now, you do have these insanely greedy politicians and industrialists that want to have all the money on the planet, and so their desire, their greed, drives a lot of the prices that we pay for things like petroleum. But that's nothing new. Those people have always existed, so there's no reason to factor in anything special for them, because the oligarchs and industrialists from 100 years ago were driven the same way that our oligarchs and industrialists are driven today. So when somebody sells you a gallon of gas for $3, it means that they produced that gallon of gas for less than $3. Or does it? You see, petroleum is unlike a lot of other products on this planet. Petroleum is subsidized. So if you've noticed that from the very beginning, you know, the first time like a computer's invented, they're astronomically expensive, and then within a year they're all cheap, and every time they get a little better they cost a little bit more money. And when they aren't costing a little bit more money, it's because we outsource to a country that still employs slave labor. But for most part, like let's say construction, home construction, we were talking about a housing bubble where the cost of housing goes up and down, up and down. That's for houses that already exist that are in some kind of mortgage system, you know, fake, artificial system that's driven by greed and smoke and mirrors. But in house construction, your house's cost is driven completely by how much production cost is. I mean, if you make it out of wood, 10 years from now, it ain't gonna be no cheaper to build it, because the cost of wood goes up all the time. The cost of building a house goes up all the time. The cost of building a comparable car will always go up over time. There is nothing on this planet that goes up and down. Once something's established, it always goes up. So how come petroleum goes through the roof, and the next year it goes drop, the bottom falls out, and then the next year it's through the roof? And please don't tell me some story that you heard on an internet page about the stock market and people that's, you know, manipulating the markets. I know that kind of stuff happens, but in general, cost is always based on production. But with petroleum, it's based on subsidies. Now, if you go to some web page, there's several of them out there that have information about subsidies, fuel subsidies, and they try to tell you that the fuel industry was subsidized to the tune of $42 million last year. And don't buy into that. When the cost of fuel goes down by $1, that means every gallon of gas on earth has been subsidized for $1. When the cost of fuel goes up by $1, that means it now costs $1 more to get fuel. Because fuel, as it gets deeper and deeper in the earth and there's less and less available, is going to take bigger machines using a whole lot more operating costs, which is actually basically fossil fuel that they themselves produce. So as the cost of fossil fuel goes up and the amount of fossil fuel it takes to run them pumps goes up, cost of fossil fuel can only go up. And if the cost of fossil fuel goes down, it's because of subsidies. I said in my wake-up call video that fuel has gone up by subsidies have gone up $7 on a gallon. I stick to that. I'm not going to be able to prove it. All I can tell you is that there are about $7 worth of subsidies for every gallon that have historically come into existence, and then when the cost has gone up, cost of fuel is going up. It's just basic reasoning skill. You're going to find that in everything. Everything from, you know, the social security system to the weather to religious systems. Everything in this world is driven by fake numbers. When they tell you that we got 9% unemployment, and then they come back and go, oh no, wait, it's 8.9%, that doesn't mean anything. If you've got a population of 350 million Americans in this country, and 349 million either are not working or they're bringing home minimum wage, that's what you call 99% unemployment. Doesn't matter what that's, you know, oh, some of them are babies and some of them are retired. How many people in this country work and how many don't work? That's how you come up to a figure of what unemployment is. It's all smoke and mirrors, and it's all to mislead you. If you don't want to survive, don't listen to me. It's your choice.